Chapter 81. Soul Calming Pearl. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. In an eastern passage of the Blood Phoenix Nest. This passage was blue, and inside was icy cold. A freezing to the bones cold directly penetrated the spiritual shield and penetrated into the body. It's cold. This passage was full of cultivators at first glance. These cultivators trembled, and their teeth chattered from the cold. Frost formed on the hair and eyebrows. This has no end at all, and it's getting colder and colder. I'm afraid I will freeze to death before reaching the end. Yes, fortunately, there are no monsters on the road. Otherwise, we will be miserable. My eyelids are twitching. I think it's safer to go back. Go back. Do you think the Blood Phoenix Nest belongs to your family? To come and go as you wish. Now, there is only one result: either die here or get the treasure and leave here. Feng Xiao led dozens of people and slowly followed after those groups of cultivators when suddenly. Squeak, a strange cry sounded. These voices hit the soul and made people's scalps numb. Not good, ice crystal centipede. That exclamation was like thunder that exploded in their head. Many cultivators wore panicked expressions. They saw transparent centipedes that covered the entire passage in the front of the cave. Each centipede was as thick as an arm with a ray of blue light that surged forward from the tail and gathered on the head. After a few breaths, the blue light was so bright that people couldn't look directly at it. Run, run, they are about to attack. A loud roar sounded throughout the passage. The cultivators that had their scalps numb turned around and ran back. But there was no time. All the ice crystal centipedes opened their mouths. Shoo, the icy air made bursts of air. Breaking sounds and shot towards everyone like ice blue silk. No, the panicked sounds continued. When the ice silk hit the body, the shield shattered, an endless chill enveloped the whole body. The whole person is directly frozen into an ice sculpture. Their frightened look became eternal at this moment. In the blink of an eye, dozens of ice sculptures strewn across the passage. Immediately afterward. Boom, the exploding sound kept ringing. The ice sculptures burst out one by one. Minced flesh and ice cubes filled the entire passage. Such a violent scene strongly stimulated the nerves of the surviving cultivators. Their bodies trembled violently, and their teeth clacked. Don't just stand there, attack together when they are accumulating strength, otherwise, everyone will die together. At this moment, a bald man stood up from the crowd. He was the person of the Red Refiner sect. With dozens of other baldies, he went straight to the ice crystal centipede. He held down an ice crystal centipede, stretched out his right hand, and hit it with a punch. Boom! There was a loud explosion, followed by the ice crystal centipede that burst directly. This group of bald heads was so powerful, they can kill the ice crystal centipede by relying on their physical body. It's them, from the Red Refiner sect. Since they are taking the lead, let's go together. Kill. The remaining cultivators also rushed over one after another. Miss, shall we help them? Help. Feng Xiao raised her head, and the corners of her mouth lifted up. Help what help? The most important thing is to preserve your strength. You just have to look like you mean it, but don't do your best. Feng Xiao said. Yes, Mississippi. Behind the group of cultivators were three transparent figures that walked forward slowly. They were cautious and did not dare to make any noise by every step. Dean, your clothes are handy. Even Feng Xiao didn't find us. This can only be useful for those below the half-immortal, presumably Feng Xiao's Dao Protector has discovered us long ago. So what? The Dao Protector usually doesn't show up. They only appear when she is in fatal danger. We didn't take any action against her. The Taoist Protector won't pay attention to it at all. That's right. Let's follow them slowly. Good. The three figures walked forward unhurriedly. Boom. Boom. In front of the passage, there was an explosion from time to time. The entire passage was buzzing and trembling. On the road, they occasionally encountered the corpse of a cultivator. The miserable appearance makes people can't bear to look straight at them. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, a few hours have already passed. Look! An exclamation came from the front. When Luo Liuyan's ears caught this sound, her eyes couldn't help but shine. It looked like they almost reached the destination. Go, let's follow carefully, and don't get exposed. Okay. The three of them speeded up and moved forward. Not long after, several people looked at the scene in front of them. Their faces were shocked. They only saw that they were in a vast circular space. This space was large enough to accommodate a medium-sized city. The surrounding rock walls were neat and smooth, as if someone carved them out. The stone walls were densely packed with countless ancient formations. A few hundred meters away, thousands of cultivators stood on the spot, looking up at the front, their eyes flickering and shining. Following their gazes, Luo Liuyan and the others' pupils shrank, and their faces were shocked. They saw that ahead of the group of cultivators was a 10-meter-high square stone platform. On the stone, the platform was a stone pearl the size of a head floating. "That's the soul calming pearl!" yelled someone, and when the words vanished, whoosh, the cultivators moved immediately. Dozens of cultivators used their own technique to rush forward, greed bloomed in their eyes. No, they will take away the soul calming pearl. Damn, late by a step, how regretful. The cultivators who hadn't had time to move were full of regrets. Many people also tried their best to pursue them frantically. First come, first served, but was that even possible? They could only watch those cultivators pounce on the soul calming pearl. Someone will succeed soon. At this time, there was a shock. Dazzling white lights lit up on the soul calming pearl, illuminating the entire space transparently. Zizi, these rays of light spread down one by one, rushing to the stage, following the ancient formation, and spreading to the ground. Whoosh, on the ground, the ancient formation array quickly lit up. A force of extreme cold centered on the soul calming pearl quickly scattered around. Not good, the cultivator who rushed to the very front felt his scalp becoming numb. There were panic and regret on his face. No, the shout stopped abruptly. Their bodies were directly frozen into ice sculptures. Boom! In the next second, it exploded. To death, he didn't even let out a scream. All the cultivators within a kilometer radius of the soul calming pearl died tragically. Fragments of the corpse could be found with the soul calming pearl in the center of it all. The smell of blood spread rapidly within the icy air. Such a scene was an intense stimulation on everyone's eyes. Many cultivators secretly wiped out their cold sweat. The body moved backward involuntarily. It's too dangerous. I almost became a corpse if I moved just a bit more. Fortunately, I didn't move, otherwise, I will end up the same as that. They looked at the soul calming pearl like looking at a terrifying monster. Although the soul calming pearl was good, it was not so easy to get. Apparently, some centipede species did produce silk, but for mating purposes. The things that you learn every day. Join our Patreon to read more chapters. Chapter 82. Terrifying Power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shall we take action? Mu Bing inquired. Don't worry. Luo Liuyan pointed to the front. Look, around that table. Mu Bing and Wen Renshi squinted their eyes as they couldn't help their pupils shrink. They saw 4 men in black armor sitting around the table on the ground with their backs against the table, like 4 guardians. Under the black armor was a set of bones, which seems to have been dead for a long time. There is a pair of strange beast bones that resemble a wild lion under each of the bones. Are they Han Xing's 4 great generals? It's them. Impossible. They are all here. It is said that they are all immortals. It seems that in order to suppress the blood phoenix, the 4 great generals also perished here. Luo Luyen and the others looked ahead and hid in the corner without moving. L.RG, whoosh, every time the soul calming pearl flashes once, activating the Arctic array. The Great Array absorbed 90.9% of the extremely cold air, and it was not known where it was sent. If it weren't absorbed by the Great Array and released completely, a stream of cold air would be enough to wipe out everyone. Miss, what should we do? Could it be that we're just going to wait? A man stood in front of Fang Xiaoxiao and asked in a low voice. Are you all ready? Fang Xiaoxiao asked. Miss, I'm already ready. If that's the case, let's do it. Fang Xiaoxiao pointed with her right hand. Whoosh, the 10 men around her moved at once. They rushed to the soul calming pearl. Like lightning. While running, each of them took out a crystal ball. What? Do they want to die? No, they have the spirit devouring orb in their hands. What, they all have this kind of thing? Worthy of the Fang family, they are too rich. Everyone stared at the count. 10 men. These people have reached the ascendant level and were extremely powerful. They were a force that cannot be underestimated when they fight together. Soon, they rushed to the soul calming pearl. There was also a shock at this time. The soul calming pearl lit up with a dazzling white light. The white light sprinkled down like silk threads. Shoot! The leader shouted loudly. These 10 men used the spirit-devouring orb simultaneously and flew under the soul calming pearl. Whoosh! The white light fell down and was completely absorbed into the spirit-devouring orb. The spirit-devouring orb was still intact and the soul calming pearl's light extinguished. The leader's eyes lit up, and he ordered again, stop. They moved neatly and took the spirit-devouring orbs to their hands. Afterward, the leader didn't hesitate and went straight to the soul calming pearl. However, he had just taken his footsteps when the spirit-devouring orb in his hand trembled frantically. The spirit-devouring orb exploded one by one before the man could react. The terrifying shock wave made the men who held the spirit-devouring orb explode, and the remains flew everywhere. The white light in the spirit-devouring orb poured down the stage like silk threads and spread through the ancient Grand Formation's formation array. The whole process happened in a flash. When all the cultivators reacted, all they saw was a scene where bodies exploded into a blood mist. They stared blankly at this scene, shocked. Even the spirit-devouring orb can't absorb the power of the soul calming pearl, so who can get this soul calming pearl? This, Fang Xiaoxiao stood there, the corners of her mouth twitched slightly, her expression extremely ugly. Thousands of calculations were not worth a stroke. This soul calming pearl was so powerful. Then who could get the soul calming pearl? There was no one around her now. What should she do? Did she have to get it herself? No way. Never move unless absolutely sure. Fang Xiaoxiao hid in a corner, quietly waiting for the opportunity. It seems that no one will move. Do we have to wait like this? Wen Rencher asked. Of course not. Luo Luyen shook her head slightly. Since young master needs this soul calming pearl, we must get it. Even if our body is torn and bone crushed, we still have to acquire it. However, we can't make a vain sacrifice. If this extreme cold power is not removed, perhaps you will not be able to capture it even if you two go together. Therefore, this extreme cold power must be absorbed. Luo Luyen said. There was a look of embarrassment on their faces. Was it so easy to absorb the extreme cold power of the ancient Grand Formation? Just a bit of power from the ancient Grand Formation can make a weak person die horribly. What should they do? Luo Luyen looked at the Grand Formation in front of her, frowned, and thought. The power of extreme cold. How should she collect this thing? That's right, young master's green pine painting. The young master's green pine painting only has ice and snow remaining, possessing freezing power. Compared with these extreme cold powers, it was even worse. The young master gave us the green pine painting, which has this profound meaning. She was so dumb just to understand it now. Ai. Luo Luyen sighed heavily. After that, the light shines. Fortunately, I was well prepared and brought Yiling's painting here too. Luo Lu's mouth raised slightly and took out the green pine painting. However, the green pine in the green pine painting has already taken root in Jade Lake. Now, there was only ice and snow left in the painting scroll. Whoosh! While the cultivators were stunned, a painting scroll suddenly appeared on top of their heads. What is that? It seems like a painting scroll. A painting scroll. Wouldn't someone use this kind of painting scroll as a magic weapon? They looked at the painting scroll doubtfully. Feng Xiaoxiao's eyes also moved following the scroll. She didn't notice when this painting scroll appeared. There was really a crouching tiger, hidden dragon, too, among the cultivators. The painting scroll flew up in the air, rapidly growing in size. It seemed to cover the entire space. Meanwhile, the soul calming pearl trembled slightly. Countless white lights rushed up from the soul calming pearl, like a reversed Milky Way, all of which were submerged in the painting. The cultivator's eyes standing below were full of shock, staring blankly. This is a mortal thing. This, such a horrible painting scroll, is it at least the supreme spirit treasure? It's terrifying, the power of the soul calming pearl was swallowed by it. Maybe this painting scroll is an immortal treasure. What? Immortal treasure. The cultivators present looked at the painting of the sky with eyes filled with greed. Their eyes moved along with the scroll. They saw that the scroll shrank rapidly, and within an instant, it changed back to its original size and disappeared into the sky. This painting scroll just fell into Luo Luoyan's hands. Whoosh! Dozens of figures rushed out quickly. These dozens of people are basically powerful figures. They were as fast as lightning and were much stronger than ordinary cultivators. Among these people, there was an ordinary-looking man. This person was the first person to enter the blood phoenix nest, Tu Tiangun. He was the fastest, far ahead of the others. What, it's him. That's Tu Tiangun, damn it, he hit himself so deeply. He's going to seize the soul calming pearl. Damn it, damn it. That's mine. The crowd rushed forward. The cultivators gritted their teeth and roared again and again. Man proposes, God disposes. Talented or extraordinary people hidden from view, support and donate to us on Patreon and read It Turns Out I Am a Dao Ancestor. Chapter 83.121. Chapter 83. The Immortal Guardian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Damn it. Feng Xiaoxiao looked at Tu Tiangun in front of him, hating him endlessly. Just now, she hesitated for a while, but unexpectedly, he rushed to the forefront. This ordinary-looking guy has such strength. His common face makes him indistinguishable from others for a time. Damn it, I just slow down a little. Feng Xiaoxiao incessantly hated him secretly and kept taking out the acceleration talisman paper and releasing it on her body. Despite this, she still couldn't catch up with Tu Tiangun. She could only watch Tu Tiangun rush towards the soul calming pearl, helpless. Soon, Tu Tiangun was almost above the soul calming pearl. At this time, a dazzling light appeared on the ancient large array on the ground. These rays of light flowed quickly, poured into the table, and penetrated the bodies of the four skeletal knights. In the black-armored knight's eyes, two blue lights lit up like a soul flame, making people afraid to look directly. Howl! There was a howl that shot out waves of air in the four directions. No, Tu Tianguan's body was immediately shocked by the airwave and hit the ground heavily. Immediately afterward, it was Feng Xiaoxiao's turn. She kissed the ground intimately, her lips swollen, and she was dizzy, very refreshing. None of the cultivators who rushed over were benefited. They were knocked against till they saw stars and covered in dirt. Everyone there didn't understand what was going on. Around the table, there was the sound of bone friction. Immediately afterward, the four skeletons followed the mount and stood up in a daze. In the skeletal eye sockets, light blue flames stared at everyone like a ghost fire, making it creepy. Undead. It was unknown who yelled out, shocking everyone and making them tremble. Soon, the four black armored knights swept their eyes around. You dare to destroy this place, die. The black armored knight's mouth let out a frightening voice. Immediately afterward, the black armored knights moved together. The ground vibrated and trembled like an earthquake. A black armored knight rushed toward a fallen cultivator. The cultivator's scalp went numb. Without any words, he frantically used all kinds of protective methods. Several shields immediately covered him. Soon after, he threw all the treasures out to slow down the speed of the black armored knight. However, the treasures were like tofu. It exploded when it touched the black armored knight. Except for bursts of fire, there wasn't any damage left on the black armored knight. Even the speed hasn't stagnated. The black armored knight stood in front of the fallen immortal cultivator, staring at him condescendingly. The soul flame in the eye sockets beating slightly. The broadsword in his hand came out of the blue. Obviously, there is no power, but it makes the cultivator's body tremble, and his face changes significantly. No, the shout stopped abruptly. The cultivator's body was split in half and fell softly. Ding ding, the black armored knight didn't stop and continued to rush towards the other cultivators. No, the shout stopped abruptly as soon as it sounded. No one can resist the black armored knight's sword. Whatever method used was like a joke in front of the black armored knight. No one can cause harm to the black armored knight. The whole scene was like Shura Field, with broken limbs and pieces flying around. Damn. Tu Tiangun struggled to stand up, his face extremely ugly. There was no fighting spirit on his face, and without thinking about it, he hurried away, however. A black armored knight locked him directly and ran towards him. That speed, although it seemed slow, was actually extremely fast. In less than a breath, the black armored knight had already come behind him. Teleport, 1, this is an immortal skill. Tu Tiangun turned around, watching the broadsword cut down on him, his scalp went numb. Help me. Tu Tiangun let out a heartbreaking roar. The sword went down like chopping a block of tofu. A loud sound accompanied a rolling human head. On that head, Tu Tianguan's eyes were wide, and he looked unwilling. Finally, his head rolled in front of Fang Xiaoxiao, staring at her. Fang Xiaoxiao looked at this scene and was frightened to death. She struggled frantically. However, she was severely injured, and she couldn't stand up for a while. At this time, a black armored knight rushed forward quickly. In the blink of an eye, he stood in front of Fang Xiaoxiao. Without any pity toward the fairer sex, his aim at her was cut with a slash. No, Fang Xiaoxiao closed her eyes and let out an unwilling roar. Ding, a clanging of metals sounded. The terrifying air wave directly sent Fang Xiaoxiao into the air. Boom! She slammed hard into the ground, and after rolling several times, she passed out. Dang, 2 steps knocked back the black armored knight. He froze in place, looking ahead. Soon, a dark shadow appeared out of thin air in front of the black armored knight. This black figure retreated straight back. It took a lot of strength to stabilize the figure. There was a look of astonishment in the eyes of the black shadow. He looked at the black armored knight, his face full of fear. The black armored knight also stared at him, seeming to see him through. For a while, there was no movement. Dao Protector. An exclamation sounded, the cultivators who were running all stopped. What? A Dao Protector appeared. We're saved, the Dao Protector is a demigod, extremely powerful. Presumably, it wouldn't be a problem to deal with those few undeads. Everyone looked at the dark shadow with shining eyes. Ding ding, the other 3 black armored knights seemed to have noticed something was wrong and surrounded the dark shadow. Seeing this scene, the black shadow's face was full of fear. His figure disappeared in place. When he appeared again, he had already come behind the black armored knight. He thrust out a sword targeted at the black armored knight. The sword intent whistled, which made the air fluctuate. Like layer upon layer of waves, it went straight to the black armored knight. The terrible power makes people drip cold sweat. Sword intent transformation. Many cultivators stared at this scene, dumbfounded. These sword intents were about to hit the black armored knight soon. At this time, the black armored knight turned his body instantly, raised his broadsword, pointed forward, and slashed it away. Crack, the sound of cracking glass reverberated. The sword intent cracked like waves. Boom! The loud explosion made the entire space vibrate and tremble. Both the black armored knight and the Dao Protector retreated. The Dao Protector stabilized his form with a lot of effort. In his eyes, he was extremely terrified. At the same time, 3 black knights have gathered around. They stood in all directions, forming a wall, ready to attack at any time. Damn it! The Dao Protector shouted, withdrawing back. He glanced at Fang Xiao, who had fainted, with a firm expression, said, "Miss, don't worry, I will save you." After speaking, the Dao Protector's figure flashed and rushed towards a black armored knight. The black armored knight had already prepared his broadsword, aimed at the Dao Protector, and slashed over. Bang! The Dao Protector's figure directly turned into light and shadow and disappeared. Maybe subjected to change, the original should be shrinking the ground into an inch. Chapter 84. The Might of the Immortal Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This distraction move is very useful. The Dao Protector has jumped out of the black armored knight encirclement. The corners of his mouth lifted up, and his face was full of pride. However, his face changed drastically in the next second. A black armored knight immediately appeared in front of him, slashing in his direction. How is this possible? He hurriedly hastened his momentum and thrust forward. The Dao Protector flew upside down and hit the ground hard with a loud explosion sound. What, even the Dao Protector was knocked back. Run, don't watch. Where can I run without the teleportation formation? What should we do? The cultivators looked at this scene with fear etched on their faces. Immediately after, the black armored knight appeared in front of the Dao Protector after he landed. He swung his broadsword up and quickly brought it down. Ah! The Dao Protector let out a roar, drew his inner force, and swung his sword to ward off the attack. However, a loud boom was heard when the Dao Protector flew flat on the ground. His whole person curled up into a shrimp-like appearance, and it looked painful. Time seemed to stop when the broadsword swung down. No, the broadsword cut his arm off like cutting tofu. The Dao Protector hasn't finished screaming yet, but 3 broadswords were coming at the same time. After 3 stabbing sounds, the Dao Protector was chopped into 4 sections, and blood was flowing. His widened eyes revealed an infinite unwillingness. There was dead silence all around. A Dao Protector, that's a demigod. In front of the 4 black armored knights, how long did he manage to persist? These black armored knights were extremely terrifying. Hiss, the cultivators breathed in cold air, and their bodies trembled violently. They stand where they were as if they were filled with lead. It was difficult to move forward. My God, even the Dao Protector is dead. Even demigod is not an opponent, how can I fight back? It's over. Panicked sounds continued to ring. The crowd of cultivators scattered and fled. However, the 2 black armored knights walked in the air for a short while, and they blocked everyone's back. There was the sound of the sword slashing into flesh when the black armored knight came. All of a sudden, minced meat flew in all directions. The treasure on the cultivator's body was vulnerable to a blow of the black armored knight's sword. Ah! The screams kept ringing. They were attacking both sides like a sure hell. Suddenly, the two black armored knights directly locked onto Luo Luoyan's group of 3 people. Ding ding, the two black armored knights then rushed towards the 3 of them. Shoot! When Renshi and Mu Bing looked at each other and nodded at the same time. The 2 of them ran in 2 directions, respectively, one after the other. Mu Bing drew out the immortal sword, rushing like lightning to the 2 black armored knights. She draws her inner force and pours it into the immortal sword. There was a vibration when the immortal sword seemed to grow in the palm of her hand, madly extracting the power from her body. Within a moment, Mu Bing's inner force was drawn clean. At this moment, the immortal sword broke away by itself and rushed out. Humph! The black armored knight snorted coldly, waved his broadsword, and slashed the immortal sword at once. Gotcha! There was a very soft sound, like a chicken breaking its shell. It didn't seem to contain any power, but in fact, its strength could overflow the heaven. The broadsword in the black armored knights shattered inch by inch. Immediately afterward, the black armored knight's body burst into pieces. The shock wave shook all around. The shield of the cultivators who was close to him instantly shattered, causing his mouth and nose to bleed. Boom! 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 The cultivators hit the ground hard like a goddess scattered flowers. On the other side. After drawing half of one Renshi's power, the immortal sword quickly flew towards the black armored knight. Without any mishap, the 2 black armored knights also shattered and dissipated on the spot. A piece of cultivator that flew in all directions hit the ground. The scene became quiet. A group of cultivators fell to the ground, staring around blankly, and did not respond for a long time. Everyone's faces showed a touch of joy after surviving a calamity. One sword shook 2 black armored knights to death. It's 2, incredible, who are they, so powerful? I know, she is Mu Bing, a student from the Supreme Court, West Academy. That seemed to be the Dean of the Supreme Court, West Academy. How did he become so young? What are they? I heard that they had joined the Evil Slayer Alliance. Is it possible that Leader Luo is here? Look, Leader Luo is there. Luo Luoyan and the other 2 stood together. Luo Luoyan looked at Mu Bing, who was pale, and asked, "How are you?" "Nothing, but my power has been drained." Mu Bing waved her hand, indicating that she was fine. The immortal sword that young master gave is really terrifying. As I am now, I won't be able to wield it to its true strength. Yes, When Renshi showed a touch of shock on his face, young master gave us the immortal sword, which was originally used to deal with them. However, this old man is too weak and can only use 2 moves at most. All of this has been calculated by the young master. A group of cultivators looked at the 3 people and quickly gathered around them. Without hesitation, they bowed down to the 3 of them. Thank you for the help of Leader Luo. Thank you for the help of Dean Wen. Thank you for the help of Miss Mu Bing. Looking at this scene, the 3 of them recovered. All of you get up. It has nothing to do with me to save you. Luo Luoyan said. A Baldi stood up and said. Leader Luo, don't be kidding, we have all seen it. I'm not joking with you, we came here because of the guidance of the godly cunning immortal. When the words came out, everyone's expressions stagnated. Their eyes were shining brightly. What? Godly cunning immortal. So to say, godly cunning immortal knows that we are in danger and send Leader Luo to rescue us. Why, yes. Godly cunning immortal is really a justice incarnation. The cultivators' faces were filled with emotion. Especially those Baldies, they were overwhelmingly moved. Leader Luo, we want to join the Evil Slayer Alliance. Do you think it's okay? You guys. Looking at these bald heads, Luo Luyen thought of when they fought against the Lion Rock Beast. That physical body was comparable to the evil race. They are the people of the Northern Territory, and it's not wrong to develop their forces over there. Yes, but not now. Next, we have to help the godly cunning immortal to get the soul calming pearl. Soul calming pearl. Everyone seemed to think of something. They all looked at the soul calming pearl, and their expressions suddenly changed slightly. They saw a cultivator hold the soul calming pearl in his hand, looked up to the sky, and laughed. Ha! The soul calming pearl is mine. However. Poochie, a stabbing sound was heard. A black claw went through his back and pierced out of his chest. The claws were holding a heart that was still beating. Whoosh, the heart withered quickly at speed visible to the naked eye and then collapsed into scattered ash and disappeared. The cultivator stared at his chest blankly, with a look of disbelief. The hand that was holding the soul calming pearl also slowly loosened. The soul calming pearl fell down, falling straight into a black claw. Thud. The cultivator's body fell softly. His face was pale, distorted, and twisted, full of unwillingness. A dark shadow appeared. He was dressed in black armor, his whole body exuded a metallic luster, and he looked indestructible. A ghost-shaped mask on the black shadow's face made it hard to see his appearance. Caw, a strange laugh came from the ghost mask, which made people horrified. Oh no, they are the branch of the evil race. The Heart Devourer race. What? The Heart Devourer race. What should we do? There is only him alone. What are you afraid of? Kill him. The author really wrote one. Rensure, we have a bad news that Rylais cannot translate and edit for you guys anymore somewhere around chapter 118 then. It is because that I could not afford her service anyway. If thing turns to be better I will try to hire another translator and editor. Chapter 85. Blood Phoenix Corpse, Devouring Heaven Demonic Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom, Huang Rumeng's heart beat violently, and the call in her mind became more and more intense. If this continues, it won't take long for her to see her ancestors and gain the inheritance. Thinking of this, Huang Rumeng's face flashed with uncertainty. Help me, who will help me? A cry for help came from the front. Huang Rumeng turned a deaf ear to these voices. Along the way, she had met too many people who sought help. They fought against the flames, and when their spiritual power was exhausted, they were finally burned to scattered ashes. Soon, the two of them came to the source of the sound. They saw a man's body twitching, and his spiritual shield was tottering in the flames. It appeared that he would be burned to ashes at any time. Suddenly, the man raised his eyebrows. When he saw Sun Hao and Huang Rumeng, his eyes shone with a strange light. He looked like someone who saw a life-saving straw after he fell into the water. Without even thinking about it, he picked up the long sword and pointed it at Sun Hao. The sword attack came as fast as lightning. Seeing this violent attack, Sun Hao shook his head slightly. Come again. He stood there motionless. The man's long sword was about to stab Sun Hao soon. At this time, the long sword in the man's hand turned into ash at speed visible to the naked eye, followed by the man's arm. The man was scared to death by this frightening display, regret written on his face. No, he let out an unwilling roar. Finally, his body followed after his voice and turned to ashes together. Sun Hao looked at the ash floating in the sky and shook his head for a while. If you want to kill someone, you must have the awareness of being killed. Along the way, all the cultivators who attacked him were obliterated by Huang Rumeng. With Rumeng by his side, it was extremely safe in this blood phoenix nest. It seemed that Huang Rumeng's realm was even more terrifying than he thought. Rumeng, are we close? Sun Hao asked. Young master, it's just ahead. Huang Rumeng pointed to the front of the passage. Good. The two of them continued to move forward without slowing down. Along the way, whether it was a flame monster or a cultivator, as long as they dared to attack Sun Hao, the result would be that they were turned into ashes. After half an hour, they arrived at the destination. It was a circular cave that was several hundred meters high. The area was large enough to hold a city. In the cave, a bird skeleton with a height of 100 meters was displayed in the cave's center like a building. Among the giant bird's skull, a scarlet pearl was emitting a crimson flame. Whoosh, the horrible heat wave blasted from the pearl to all directions, burning the entire cave red. Under the skeleton, there are thousands of cultivators standing. Each one gritted their teeth and roared, walking towards the pearl. Behind the crowd, there was a quiet-looking woman. She stood at the end with a sword, her eyes fixed on the pearl, motionless. She was precisely Xianxia. When she saw Sun Hao and Huang Rumeng coming, her pupils shrank slightly. What? He's not harmed even without using the spiritual shield. How can that be? Xianxia's face became more surprised. The temperature inside was as high as 10,000 degrees. Even the cultivator who was in the crossing calamity realm had to deal with it with all of their strength, and their spiritual power disappeared quickly like flowing water. They need to replenish their spiritual power with pills constantly. Otherwise, they would be left with nothing but ashes when their spiritual power was exhausted. The clothes on his body weren't ignited. It seems that suit must be a high-grade spirit weapon. However, even if it is a high-grade spirit weapon, it can't withstand such a high temperature, right? There are only two possibilities: either the young man is extremely powerful, or the young man is a peerless expert. It is very possible that he is an immortal. Xianxia let out a gasp when she thought this. Unexpectedly, immortals could be seen here. If she could establish a good relationship with the immortals, her family's crisis might be resolved. It must be much more useful than obtaining that demon core. She ended her thoughts. Xianxia turned around, walked in front of Sun Hao and Huang Rumeng, bowed, and saluted. Xianxia had seen, her words were interrupted. Young master is practicing as a mortal. If you dare to damage young master's Dao, you will die here immediately. Huang Rumeng's voice came, shaking Xianxia's ears. When she heard this, she nodded secretly. Xianxia has seen young master. Xianxia saluted. Xianxia. That's a good name, Mrs. Polite. Sun Hao looked at Xianxia and sized her up carefully. Xianxia was a bit quiet, with a pretty face. She was biting her lips as if she had 1,000 words but had no way to speak of it. This girl was very polite, unlike other cultivators who rushed forward and killed themselves before they speak. In the end, it came to a dead end. Later, he must give her something. What should he give? By the way, her name is Xuanhuan. Then send her calligraphy. Sun Hao muttered and made a decision. Suddenly, there was a sound. Below the blood phoenix demon core, the air shook in layers of ripples. A book appeared on the ground out of thin air. The 4 characters devouring heaven demonic technique strongly stimulated a crowd of cultivators' eyes on the cover of the book. It's devouring heaven demonic technique. My God, it is said to be a technique created by a powerful ancient being. Those who were able to acquire it would have their practice speed increased by leaps and bounds. Hurry up and get the devouring heaven demonic technique. At this time, all the cultivators moved at once and rushed towards the devouring heaven demonic technique quickly. Huang Rumeng's face changed slightly, and her heart beat violently. Master, the ancestor is calling me, please wait here. After speaking, Huang Rumeng's figure slowly disappeared. This, Sun Hao was taken aback. Without Huang Rumeng by his side, who will protect him? This terrible place was not safe. What should he do? Sun Hao fixed his eyes on Xianxia. He saw that Xuanhuan was also staring at the devouring heaven demonic technique. Her eyes shone with greed. She was about to rush forward, but at this time. Miss Xuanhuan, wait. This sound was like an explosion of thunder. It awakened Xuanhuan. The greed in the heart disappeared cleanly. At this time. Ah! Screams came from the front. It could be seen on the demon core that tens of thousands of blood-colored silk threads suddenly appeared. In the blink of an eye, it entangled the cultivator at the forefront. These blood threads madly swallowed the flesh and blood of these cultivators. They turned into a stream of energy, and rushed to the demon core. The body of the cultivator dries out at the speed visible to the naked eye, and finally becomes a skeleton. Boom! The skeleton fell to the ground and exploded into dust. Hundreds of cultivators died tragically in less than a breath. Such a scene directly frightened a group of cultivators. They struggled wildly and backed away. However, the demon core vibrated. The dazzling red light enveloped them all at once. At this moment, they were stuck in a quagmire and were in a dilemma. No, don't. Help, someone please help me. I'm not greedy anymore, please let me go. The whole scene was in chaos. Patreon. By donating to our Patreon you will be charged monthly or annually, with a certain discount. By becoming our patron you will have access to more chapters before they become public according to the tier you have chosen. PayPal. You can use this option if you want just to donate to this site whenever you like with no strings attached, Sawiria. This donation is for Indonesian who want to donate directly with no strings attached. Chapter 86. Ancestor wants to swallow me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ah! The screams kept ringing while the cultivator kept disappearing. In less than a second, nearly 1,000 cultivators died tragically. Only Huang Rumeng stood under the blood phoenix demon core. She sat cross-legged on the ground, closed her eyes, and looked like she was cultivating. Such a scene strongly stimulated Xuanhuan's nerves. In the face of those blood threads, she could confirm that there was absolutely no way she could live. She had almost died. So terrible. It was really a death-forbidden zone. Fortunately, the young master stopped me, and this saved me from the disaster. After calming down, Xuanhuan turned around and looked at Sun Hao, young master. Miss Xuanhuan, can you protect me? Sun Hao asked tentatively. It couldn't be helped, Huang Rumeng was not by his side, and inside here was really terrifying. Just now, those cultivators all died inexplicably. It was simply a sure hell. He had no choice but to bite the bullet and say this. Protection. Xuanhuan was taken aback, with a touch of surprise on her face. Young master, you were clearly protecting me. Damn, young master is experiencing life with a mortal body and cannot be broken. If I break young master's Dao heart, I will be blamed for death. Xuanhuan wiped the cold sweat with her hand, secretly saying that it was dangerous. Of course. Xuanhuan said. Thank you, Miss Xuanhuan. Sun Hao exhaled a long sigh of relief. Young master is too polite. Xuanhuan said. Sun Hao sat down and looked at Huang Rumeng with a worried expression on his face. His heart beat violently, as if it was about to jump out. He looked at Huang Rumeng with an unwavering gaze. Meanwhile, with the blood phoenix demon core, Huang Rumeng sat cross-legged and frowned slightly. On top of her head, tens of thousands of red silk threads hung from the demon core and penetrated into the top of Huang Rumeng's head. A stream of fiery red airflow following the silk thread, it rushed down quickly and dug into Huang Rumeng's body. Huang Rumeng's aura was soaring. Child, relax your mind. This old man is going to pass on the devouring heaven demonic technique to you. You can crush the world in the future with it. A roar sounded in Huan Rumeng's mind. Huan Rumeng frowned, relaxed her mind, and let the terrifying power surge into her mind. Endless pain rushed all over her body. Huan Rumeng clenched her teeth, motionless. As time passed by little, the blood phoenix demon core became increasingly dim. Finally, all the luster disappeared cleanly. Boom! The demon core burst into powder and scattered around. Boom! Here was a loud noise. The blood phoenix skeleton seemed to be missing some kind of strength support and collapsed suddenly. In the end, it burst out a little bit and disappeared as well. Even the devouring heaven demonic technique also disappeared. Right now, only Huan Rumeng was sitting cross-legged. The look on her face became more and more relaxed. Suddenly, Huan Rumeng frowned, and her face was filled with panic. In her mind, a blood-red figure slowly condensed and formed. This erratic figure was the remnant soul of the blood phoenix. The blood phoenix looked up to the sky and screamed like crazy. It's really an extremely perfect body, my blood phoenix is going to be resurrected again. Not only did it have the blood of the divine phoenix, but the blood of the ancient elf was also very pure. What? The light of thunder. There are 3 kinds of blood. Supreme physique, Is my blood phoenix so lucky? God bless, my persistence is not in vain. Han Xing, you didn't expect it, right? You have been wiped out for many years, but I can be reborn again. After speaking, the blood phoenix laughed again. Huan Rumeng's consciousness form looked at the blood phoenix body with a look of doubt. Ancestor, you. Little girl, I don't want to hurt you. Leave your soul by yourself so that you can survive for a while. The blood phoenix voice was cold. Ancestor, you want to take my flesh? Huan Rumeng looked in disbelief. Aren't you talking nonsense? With such strong talent, it is completely wasteful for you to control it. Hand it over to me honestly, and it will save you from suffering your soul being scattered, said the blood phoenix. Upon hearing this, Huan Rumeng sighed secretly. It seems that you are really not a good person, good thing I was prepared. After speaking, Huan Rumeng waved her right hand. A light flashed, and a cage quickly formed, and in the blink of an eye, the blood phoenix remnant soul was wrapped tightly. Above the cage, colorful electric lights flickered continuously. The blood phoenix reached out and touched it, and plumes of black smoke rose from his body. This is impossible. The blood phoenix's face was full of fear. Your soul, how can it be so strong? Said the blood phoenix. Huan Rumeng smiled slightly. Ancestor, when you called me, I know that you had no good intentions. Hiding 90% of my soul was just to get you hooked. You want to swallow this old man? Yes. The blood phoenix laughed again. Little girl, then you are underestimating this old man too much. Just by yourself. Even if your soul is 10 times stronger than me, so what? I will disperse your soul. After speaking, the blood phoenix's aura soared, and the blood chi in his body increased crazily. In the blink of an eye, the blood phoenix's aura increased 100-fold. Seeing this scene, Huan Rumeng's face changed drastically. You don't want your life, if you burn the remaining of your soul, you will definitely die. As long as this old man defeats you and swallows your soul, this old man can live. At that time, if I cultivate for another 100,000 years and be born again, I will definitely be invincible in the world. After speaking, the blood phoenix raised his fist and smashed on the cage. Boom! Huan Rumeng's head was rumbling with a loud sound, and her face changed slightly. If this continues, at most a quarter of an hour, the blood phoenix will be able to break free. By then, the consequences would be disastrous. Fortunately, young master is here. It turned out that the young master knew I would have this tribulation for a long time, and he actually wanted to help me without caring about the damage to his Dao heart. Young master, Rumeng will be yours in the future. Huan Rumeng retracted her consciousness and returned to her body. She looked at Sun Hao, and tears were brewing in her eyes. It took a long time to suppress her emotions. She stood up and walked to Sun Hao. Seeing Huan Rumeng coming, Sun Hao's eyes lit up. Rumeng, how was it? Young master, it's all right. Huan Rumeng nodded, took out the guqin from the space ring, and placed it on the ground. Master, can you play a song with me? Huan Rumeng asked. Of course. Sun Hao said without hesitation. Young master, what song should we play? Huan Rumeng asked. Rumeng, why don't we just play meditation? To be honest, he had an inexplicable panic. Playing this song will make him feel much better. Okay. Huan Rumeng sat down, the two looked at each other and began to play. In Huan Rumeng's mind, the blood phoenix sneered when he saw this scene. Little girl, giving up resistance. That's good. Very self-conscious. Going to play guqin. Is it possible that you want to play the guqin against me? You really make me laugh. The words just fell silent when the guqin sounded. With this sound, the blood phoenix's body kept wavering, and his face changed drastically. With just one sound, he lost 10% of his strength. If this continued, he would be finished with the 10 sounds. This is impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Who on earth are you? A mortal, how could a mortal be so powerful? The blood phoenix roared loudly, his face was full of unwillingness. However, these voices could only be heard in Huan Rumeng's mind, and they did not come out at all. Somewhere in the blood phoenix nest. Seeing this scene, the polar guardians let out a sigh of relief. It seems that the Supreme Being is not here to wreak havoc. Yes. I didn't expect that the Supreme Being is here to clean up the blood phoenix. Now, the blood phoenix will undoubtedly die. It seems that the human race is very promising. We don't have to worry. Well, how about we look at the three little guys? Patreon. By donating to our Patreon you will be charged monthly or annually, with a certain discount. By becoming our patron you will have access to more chapters before they become public according to the tier you have chosen, PayPal. You can use this option if you want just to donate to this site whenever you like with no strings attached, Sawiria. This donation is for Indonesian who want to donate directly with no strings attached. Chapter 87. Heavenly Sword Technique, destroyed 10 generals. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soul Calming Pearl, the ghost mask man held the soul calming pearl and laughed up to the sky. When all the cultivators saw this scene, their bodies went cold, and their faces were full of anger. Evil race, he is alone, kill him together. Hearing this, the masked man gave a cold smile, only you. After speaking, the masked man snapped his fingers. Pop, 11 black mist suddenly surged behind the masked man. The black mist rotates, and the ripples spread. When the black fog was about to disappear, 11 figures appeared behind him. Each figure is dressed in black armor, with a mask on their faces that cannot be seen clearly. The one leading them was precisely Shi of the Heart Devourer race. He walked directly in front of the masked man. Xuanhuan, you really get the soul calming pearl. That's natural, the high priest has a brilliant plan. It's easy to get this. Shi voice seemed to contain pride. The faces of the crowd of cultivators that looked at this scene changed uncertainly. Xuanhuan. Shi, the Heart Devourer commander. Doesn't it mean that the 10 people around them are 10 generals? What? The whole nest of the Heart Devourer came out. 1. What should we do? It's over. One general is enough to crush us. Every cultivator's face was full of despair. Many of them slumped to the ground with a gray face. Luo Luyen watched this scene with a trace of fear on her face. She looked at Wen Renshi and nodded slightly. Whoosh, When Renshi moved by holding a long sword in his hand. He quickly rushed towards them. "Ha, a little bug, I'll come." A general took a throwing knife, too, and threw it out with a finger. The throwing knife cut through the air and made a harsh whistle. The terrible power caused the surrounding air to be distorted. It made the air rippled, and dust scattered. Seeing this scene, Wen Renshi smiled coldly. "Ignorant child, young master has already calculated everything. What storms can you make just by waiting?" Wen Renshi poured his strength into the immortal sword to then use the heavenly sword technique. There was a quake. The space was frozen, and time had stopped. Everyone's expressions seemed to be frozen. The only thing in motion was the immortal sword in Wen Renshi's hand. Whoosh, a ray of sword light separated from the immortal sword and flew towards the sky. In the blink of an eye, 1,000 sword lights were formed, layered on top of each other, flying continuously. The sword lights then once again merged with the immortal sword. Shoo, the immortal sword rushed out quickly. Time seemed to be restored at this moment. Boom! A loud explosion rang out. The immortal sword stabbed the throwing knife, which destroyed the throwing knife into pieces. This is impossible." The general's face changed drastically, and he kept shaking his head. Just as he finished speaking, the immortal sword drew near him. Bang! The flying sword pierced the general's eyebrows, and the general's body fell straight down. This. When everyone on Xuanhuan's side saw this scene, their scalp numbed, and their whole being felt as though they were falling into hell. "Run!" Xuanhuan let out a loud roar. However, it was too late. Boom! The immortal sword flashed quickly. It flew at an extreme speed, and it would make a loud noise every time it penetrated a person. No, the shouts kept ringing as the 10 generals all fell without exception. Damn! Seeing the immortal sword flying over, Xuanhuan's face changed drastically. The black energy on his body rushed out, forming a big black hand that covered him. Ah! On the other side, Ming gritted his teeth and roared, frantically squeezing the black energy from his body and poured it into the big black hand. In the blink of an eye, this giant hand grew to a height of 100 meters, like a building, standing horizontally in the air. Shoo! The immortal sword rushed forward and collided with the big black hand. Boom! Boom! The explosion sounded continuously while it also sent shock waves to all directions. The cultivators thousands of meters away flew upside down. The whole space constantly vibrated as if it was about to break apart. Then everything quietened. The immortal sword returned to Wen Renshi's hand. Everyone's faces changed slightly when they looked at the scene in front of them. They saw Xuanhuan and Ming fall to the ground, struggling frantically, spitting out a mouthful of black blood from time to time. The black energy on their body floated in the wind like smoke. Their aura appeared feeble, and it was likely to collapse at any time. The soul-calming pearl rolled on the ground. The place was quiet. Everyone stared at this scene blankly, with shocked faces. One sword destroyed 10 generals, and one blow severely wounded 2 commanders. How many people can be compared to him? Wen Renshi picked up the soul-calming pearl and looked at Xuanhuan. "Let's talk, do you have a last word? How can you kill so many of us when you are only in the 3rd stage of ascendant? The long sword in your hand, is it possible that it is an immortal sword?" As soon as this word came out, the surrounding instantly quietened. What? Immortal sword? My God! No wonder the Dean is so powerful. Isn't it said that Mu Bing also has an immortal sword? God, they have such a peerless treasure. The sound of shocked exclamation exploded continuously. Everyone's eyes swept over the two of them, and their eyes were full of envy. For these, Wen Renshi didn't care at all. He stared at Xuanhuan and the corner of his mouth raised. "Since you've finished saying your last words, then die." After speaking, Wen Rensher waved his long sword and slashed forward. No, ding. The two sounds sounded at the same time. The dazzling white light makes people unable to open their eyes. The sharp roar was deafening. The cultivators' faces were filled with pain. After a while, the surroundings returned to calm. Seeing the scene before them, their faces changed drastically. Wen Rensher flew upside down like a broken kite. Finally, he fell to the ground and vomited blood. There was an old man standing in front of Xuanhuan. There were visible wrinkles on his body which made him look like a dried old tree, making it impossible to distinguish his characteristics. His eyes were dark and dead, like the black water in the pool of death, making people afraid to look directly. This person held the immortal sword and the soul calming pearl in his hands. It was this person who shot just now. Fa Lao. 3. Seeing this person, Xuanhuan and Shi Ming regained hope in their eyes. Trash. Fa Lao said with a cold voice, you can't even deal with a lowly cultivator, so weak. Fa Lao, the two of them felt like something got stuck in their chests, lowered their heads, and stopped talking. Fa Lao looked at the immortal sword in his hand and opened his dry lips. Sure enough, it is an immortal sword. I can't even see the rank. Not bad. Suddenly, Fa Lao's dead eyes revealed a trace of panic. He cut the hand that grasped the immortal sword with a single slash. Damn it, even my power can be swallowed. This immortal sword is not simple. Fa Lao looked at the immortal sword with fear on his face. On the other side, Luo Luyen and the others looked at Fa Lao, their expressions changed. Mu Bing took out the divine dragon statue. However, she didn't have a trace of strength in her body, she couldn't move it at all. I'm coming. Luo Luyen took out the ascending painting and was about to open it. There was a shock. A terrifying power wrapped the painting scroll and took it away directly. The painting scroll floated in the sky and flew in front of Fa Lao. It's another immortal tool, it's kind of interesting. Little doll, since you dare to take action against me, I will torment you all again. After speaking, Fa Lao waved his right hand, thousands of black silks instantly took Luo Luyen and wrapped her into a zongzi. Immediately afterward, it was Mu Bing and Wen Rensher's turn. Boom, the three were thrown aside by Fa Lao. They couldn't break free even after employing every possible means. After doing this, Fa Lao stood there blankly. He seemed calm, but in fact, there were stormy waves raging in his heart. Just now, he had to use half of his power to suppress the painting scroll. Now, the painting scroll seems to be quiet, but it was struggling crazily, and it can break through his seal at any time. Damn it, which immortal paint this painting scroll? All the paper used is made of immortal wood. If this painting scroll was opened, I'm afraid this old man will be finished today. Fa Lao's face was full of fear. Come in full power. Basically means old Fa. This arrangement is used to show respect, while the other address is to indicate close relationships. http://english.visitbeijing.com.cn/a1/a.sajag3a110138717 End of the chapter. You could read for free here, but if you like what you read and want to donate to the website, then there are 3 ways to donate to this website: Patreon. By donating to our Patreon you will be charged monthly or annually, with a certain discount. By becoming our patron you will have access to more chapters before they become public according to the tier you have chosen, PayPal. You can use this option if you want just to donate to this site whenever you like with no strings attached, Sawiria. This donation is for Indonesian who want to donate directly with no strings attached. Feel free to read here or donate through any 3 links above suitable for you. Any help and support are very much appreciated. Chapter 88. The godly cunning immortal is coming. Are coming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You little bugs, go die. Fa Lao looked at the cultivators who fell to the ground with cold killing intent written all over his face. He held out his right palm forward, and the air vibrated. A torrent of black energy rushed out, quickly condensed and transformed into monsters. Howl, the monster was completely dark, with ferocious horns growing on its head. The roar it let out seemed to be able to shatter the soul. In the blink of an eye, nearly 1,000 monsters were all around. Boom, the monsters moved together, stepping on the ground, buzzing and shaking. At this moment, the cultivators present were trembling with fear. No, don't. Ah! The shouts and screams kept ringing. In front of the monster, these cultivators were like brittle paper, and they could not resist at all. In less than a moment, nearly 100 cultivators died tragically on the spot. Supreme God, save us. Master of all realms, please save us. What's the use of asking these? It's better to ask Godly Cunning Immortal. Godly Cunning Immortal, you calculated everything, please save my life, my Red Refiner sect will look forward to you from now on. The immortal cultivator kneeled on the ground, put the palm of his hands together, and began to pray. 1. Fa Lao watched this scene, and the corner of his mouth raised a smile. If praying is useful, do you still need to cultivate? The next second, Fa Lao's face changed drastically. He saw the scroll in front of him shaking frantically. Boom, the force that sealed the scroll broke apart. The painting scroll spread out, flew, and grew rapidly. The men and women in the painting walked step by step. They walked down step by step, hand in hand, and finally stood in the air, looking down below. The two people were hazy and could not be seen clearly. Meanwhile, at this time, the woman said, "Young master, can you play a song with me?" "Of course." The man nodded. "Young master, what song should we play?" the woman asked. "Rumming, how about playing Meditation?" The man said. Then, two gyukins appeared in front of the two of them. They moved their fingers together and began to play. Zheng, the guqin sound vibrated in all directions. At this moment, space was frozen, and time was stopped. Everyone's eyes are fixed on the man and woman in the air, watching quietly. "That's young master." Luo Luyen cried with joy when she saw this scene. She had known for a long time that young master had calculated everything. Today, even if she was restrained, she didn't panic at all. Young master didn't make any move until now. It turned out to be for the big fish, Fa Lao. Young master really calculated everything. Luo Luyen murmured, her face full of admiration. Mu Bing and Wen Rencher watched this scene, and their hanging hearts instantly went down. There was a look of shame on their faces. "Young master, I actually suspect that you have not calculated this evil race. It looks like I am really stupid, even dare to doubt you." Wen Rencher secretly said. "Young master, you really are as good as Luyen said." There was a smile on Mu Bing's face that had never been seen before. They looked at the two phantoms in the sky, and their eyes were full of admiration. Zheng, the guqin sound continued. The images in front of the cultivators changed rapidly. At this moment, everyone felt like they were returning home, embracing their loved ones, talking about the past and present. It was very comfortable. The tightly clenched heart slowly relaxed at this moment. Many people closed their eyes and lay on the ground with their mouths slightly raised. Their moods were improving rapidly. The monsters that rushed over in front of the cultivator stopped moving forward after hearing these guqin sounds. Their bodies collapsed into black mist one by one, evaporating cleanly. "Ah, no!" Shi Hun and Shi Ming screamed bitterly while holding their heads. Their bodies melted quickly. Finally, it turned into a paralyzed black pus and separated from the skeleton. It stank. "Ah!" Fa Lao hugged his head and fell to the ground, screaming in pain. He looked at two phantoms in the sky, his eyes held extreme anger. Billowing killing intent surged out from him. "Damn it, stop playing, stop it quickly for this old man. If you play again, this old man will not be polite. Don't push me." Fa Lao shouted angrily, struggling frantically. Whatever method he did was useless, he was like a joke in front of the Guqin sound. As the Guqin sounded, his withered flesh was also turning into pus. Ah! You are forcing me! Fa Lao screamed up to the sky. His body changed rapidly. The sound of joint cracking could be heard constantly. After a while, he transformed into a giant skeleton with a height of 100 meters. Holding a giant axe firmly in his hand, he looked like a pioneering powerhouse. Die! The giant skeleton uttered a word and smashed his axe upwards. The sky rippled as if it was cut. The shock wave spread out like a tsunami. In an instant, it blasted 2 figures in the sky. However, the 2 figures just oscillated up and down along with the ripples and were not affected at all. Void. Fa Lao was dumbstruck. His charged blow was just hitting the phantom. How could that be? Zheng, the Guqin sounded continuously. Every time it hits Fa Lao, it would make him retreat a few steps. Driven back, Fa Lao stood up with extravagant hopes. No, don't. Fa Lao trembled violently, supporting his body with his hands. He looked at the 2 phantoms in the sky, and in his deadly eyes, he seemed to remember the 2 of them. Godly cunning immortal. It must be you. Fa Lao shouted, took out a secret array jade slip, and gently held it. The jade was reduced to a void butterfly, flying lightly. Report to the Lord, if you want to achieve great things, you must destroy the godly cunning immortal. The void butterfly's body fluttered slightly and turned illusory, disappeared without a trace. After doing this, Fa Lao's eyes gradually lost their vigor. Plop! There was a loud noise. The huge body fell directly to the ground, disturbing the dust to the air. The Guqin sound continues. The ancient formation array on the ground could not hold back the Guqin sound's power and disappeared a little bit. When the Guqin sound stopped, it left a lingering feeling in the surrounding. After a long time, the surroundings gradually calmed down. Everyone slowly opened their eyes, with a smile on their faces. When they looked at the massive skeleton in front of them, their faces were filled with shock. It turns out that all of this is not a dream. Who are the 2 who played the song just now? They have such an incredible power. It seems like the evil Fa Lao is shouting the godly cunning immortal. What? The godly cunning immortal have come. Heavens! Our piety moved the godly cunning immortal. He came here specifically to save us, everyone muttered to themselves. Gratitude, admiration, awe, various expressions were written on their face. Not good. Suddenly, there was a burst of exclamation. What's the matter? BDNVL.M, my soul has grown dozens of times stronger. What? Really? Fuck. My soul has also been strengthened dozens of times. God, my soul has been strengthened so many times, wouldn't my talent also be dozens of times stronger? It goes without saying that from today onwards, those arrogant folks are just a joke in front of us. Their discussions continued. When Luo Luyen heard this, she couldn't help but smile and shook her head. She quickly retracted the scroll, then picked up the soul-calming pearl on the ground and placed them in the space ring. Come on, let's kill the blood phoenix. Luo Luyen said. Okay. Wen Renshi and Mu Bing nodded at the same time. Just by listening to a song, not only the body recovered, but their strength also went further. Young Master's method is simply unimaginable. The 3 of them had just started walking when a group of cultivators surrounded them. Leader Luo, wait. Do you guys have something to say? Luo Luyen asked. Leader Luo, we want to join the Evil Slayer Alliance, please accept us. Yes, Leader Luo, we represent the Red Refiner sect, and we all want to join the Evil Slayer Alliance. Leader Luo, everything today is thanks to the godly cunning immortal. From today onwards, I live for the godly cunning immortal, please accept me, let me do something for the godly cunning immortal. Luo Luyen smiled slightly when she heard this. Since you've gained the fortune from godly cunning immortal, you naturally can join the evil slayer alliance. But, godly cunning immortal also arranged for one thing, which is to destroy Blood Phoenix. Who wants to join me? The word went out, the eyes of a crowd of cultivators shone brightly. Leader Luo, I will join. I am willing too. Somewhere in a space in the Blood Phoenix nest. The two polar guardians opened their eyes slowly. There was endless joy on their face. Supreme Being is so powerful. This method is simply unheard of. Yes, my remnant soul has not only recovered to its peak but also strengthened a lot. If this continues, I can at least hold on for 10,000 years. Unexpectedly, today the two of us would have gained such good fortune, this method, even the master wouldn't be able to compare. Yes. The two polar guardians nodded together, and it took a long time for them to calm down. Look. What? The two grand formations arranged by the master are all wiped out. Supreme Being is too terrible, right? The two opened their mouths, their faces full of astonishment. Not good, the three little guys are leaving, and master's fortune has not been given to them. I think it's fine, it's just the master's good fortune, how would it enter their eyes? Hey, that's true. The song just now is 10,000 times stronger than master's fortune. More than that, I think at least 100 million times stronger. Last chapter of the week, click how to donate menu bar above if you want to help this website or click ahem. Chapter 89. The Supreme Treasure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Blood Phoenix clutched his head and fell into Huang Rumeng's soul ocean, screaming in pain. No, stop playing, forgive me, forgive me. I was wrong, I was really wrong. The Blood Phoenix's remnant soul was like a candle in the wind that could be extinguished at any time. However, it was useless no matter how much he begged. The sound of the guqin kept coming. Ah! Bursts of pain from the splitting of the soul kept coming. The remnant soul was like a candle in the wind that would extinguish at any time. The figure of his remnant soul was getting dimmer and dimmer. Soon, it almost completely faded away. I beg you, stop playing, I can pass the devouring heaven demonic technique to you. As long as you spare my life, said the Blood Phoenix. This technique is not rare for me. Huang Rumeng's consciousness condensed, smiled and shook her head. I'm your ancestor, spare my life. You can't deceive your master and destroy your ancestor like this. You will be condemned by heaven, said the Blood Phoenix. Don't say that you are not my direct ancestor. Just based on the fact that you lead the Divine Phoenix clan to extinction, you deserve to die. Die. Huang Rumeng waved her right hand. Tens of thousands of hand shadows, layered on top of each other condensed into a palm and blasted toward the Blood Phoenix. This is the legendary Nirvana's handprint. You learned it. No. The voice stopped abruptly. The Blood Phoenix's remnant soul was annihilated little by little and turned into powder, disappearing without a trace. All that was left to Huang Rumeng was the pure blood and the great way of destruction. Huang Rumeng's consciousness was feeling all of this quietly, swallowing frantically. After a while, the consciousness form opened her eyes, and her face was full of surprise. I have reached the 7th stage of Ascendant Realm. Huang Rumeng muttered, his face full of surprise. The later the stages of Ascendant Realm, the more difficult it was to convert spiritual power into immortal power. The strong ones might only be able to convert 50% of their powers their whole life. In other words, they can only stop at the 5th stage of Ascendant Realm. In just over a month, she went from crossing Calamity Realm to cultivating to the 7th stage of Ascendant Realm. In Xiang planet, this was also unimaginable. All of this was because of Young Master. Young Master, without you this time, I will not only be unable to obtain good fortune, but I will also even die here instead. Young master, Rumeng will not be able to repay your kindness for the rest of my life. Young master, please let Rumeng stay with you forever. Huang Rumeng's consciousness dissipated, and she retook control of her body. She and Sun Hao looked at each other, smiled, everything was silent. Sun Hao looked at Huang Rumeng and nodded slightly. This girl was very talented in playing the guqin. If this goes on, it won't take long for her to catch up to him. Now, after playing this song, the fear in my heart has disappeared cleanly. Behind the two of them, Xianxia stood still for a long time without responding. A tune of guqin has increased her talent 100-fold. This method was completely the divine initiation of the immortal. The two of them were immortals. I'm protecting an immortal. Listening to an immortal playing music. Isn't this a dream? Xianxia was shocked and couldn't help but pinch herself secretly. Ouch, it hurts. It seems that this good fortune is real. If this goes on, I will be able to resolve the family crisis in less than half a year. Xianxia muttered to herself, looking at Sun Hao's back with a face full of gratitude. Rumeng, are you all right? Sun Hao asked. Young master, everything is fine. Huang Rumeng nodded. Then let's go out. Sun Hao said. Okay. The two of them stood up, just in time to see Xianxia. Miss Xuanhuan, thank you just now. I will be going in a moment, I have a little gift for you, and I hope you can accept it. Sun Hao said. What? Young master had a gift for her. It was very likely to be a high-grade spiritual object. She had come across such a good fortune. If it were a superb spirit sword, she would definitely get first place in the family competition. When that happens, those uncles would not dare to be so arrogant. Xianxia bowed and cupped her fist, thank you, young master. You don't have to be polite, I'll go out first. Okay. Huang Rumeng stood up, young master, please wait. After she said that, she raised her right hand and pointed it at the sky, and then punched out. Om, a layer of circular air wave vibrated from Huang Rumeng's fist. Boom. There was a dull sound. The stone wall above the cave fell piece by piece. A huge hole leads directly to the sky. Rumeng's strength is so terrifying. I can go anywhere in the future if I follow her. Sun Hao's eyes sparkled. Huang Rumeng took off her sword and took Sun Hao into the air. Xianxia followed them closely. After a while, the three of them flew out of the forbidden zone and came to the southern valley. After landing, Sun Hao said, Rumeng, please help me get the painting tools out. Yes, young master. Then, Sun Hao looked at Xianxia and said, Miss Xuanhuan, I'll give you a calligraphy painting, okay? Calligraphy painting. Was this thing useful? Young master, give me a high-grade spiritual sword. Xianxia was depressed in her heart but did not dare to make a change of expression. Everything will be arranged by young master. Xianxia said. Well, I'll write a sentence for you. Sun Hao looked at Xianxia and nodded faintly. Xianxia was instantly scared when she saw the paper that was flattened. This paper turned out to be spiritual wood, that's not right, it's immortal wood. Who is young master? Xianxia looked at the immortal wood drawing paper in front of her, with great urges to take it for herself. However, she still resisted. Dare to grab the drawing paper in front of the immortal was tantamount to looking for death. Not to mention, the immortal wants to give her a painting. Xianxia's heart involuntarily beat violently. I can't see through that brush. Maybe also an immortal object. That ink stick is also an immortal object. Perhaps the clothes on young master are also an immortal object. Xianxia sucked in cold air, and shock was written all over her face when her thoughts ended. She used her strength for a long time before she calmed down and continued to watch Sun Hao move. Meanwhile, the ink stick has been grinded. Sun Hao began to dip the brush into the grinded ink. 14 characters, like a flying dragon and a snake, were printed on the drawing paper. Sword Qi spreads across 30,000 miles, and one sword shines on 19 continents. 1. The frightening sword intent and Dao rhyme spewed out like a tsunami. Xuanhuan stared at these words in a daze, and her whole person was frightened and stupefied. No one could match its domineeringness. Only an immortal could have this state of mind. This painting was absolutely the supreme treasure. Young master said he wanted to give it to her. Was she dreaming? Then, Xuanhuan pinched herself again, grimacing with pain. Damn, I don't even want young master's painting, what a fool. With this painting, my sword intent could rise a few steps in just one day. This kind of opportunity may not be able to be cultivated in the next lifetime. Xuanhuan thought secretly. Miss Xuanhuan, what do you think of this calligraphy? Sun Hao said. This bold cursive calligraphy is really a masterpiece, it's matchless. Xuanhuan's face was full of admiration. Thank you. I'm giving this painting to Miss Xuanhuan. A classic poem from the martial arts novel The Third Young Master's Sword by Gu Long. That end of the chapter, you could read for free here, but if you like what you read and want to donate to the website, then there are 3 ways to donate to this website. Patreon. By donating to our Patreon you will be charged monthly or annually, with a certain discount. By becoming our patron you will have access to more chapters before they become public according to the tier you have chosen. PayPal. You can use this option if you want just to donate to this site whenever you like with no strings attached. Saweria. This donation is for Indonesian who want to donate directly with no strings attached. Feel free to read here or donate through any 3 links above suitable for you. Any help and support are very much appreciated. Chapter 90. Gifting the Soul Calming Pearl. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why is it so quiet? Did the blood phoenix escape? Luo Luoyan's face was full of anxiety. If the blood phoenix escapes, it will be a disaster for the entire world. How could she be worthy of young master's entrusted task? Go. She turned into a flash, rushing forward frantically. The blood phoenix demon core was broken, and the flames in the passage dissipated. Everyone was extremely fast since there wasn't any flame obstructing them. Soon, they came to the bottom of the cave and saw the big hole above. A wave of anxiety rushed through their whole body. If the blood phoenix escaped, the consequences would be disastrous. Could it be that the blood phoenix smashed this hole? They must pursue it quickly. Everyone, follow me. Yes. Tens of thousands of cultivators rose into the sky, following Luo Luoyan. Standing high in the sky, Luo Luoyan released her divine consciousness and swept around. There was no blood phoenix's aura within 100 miles. Dean, please take everyone to search in the death forbidden zone. As soon as there is news, immediately send a letter to me. I will send the soul calming pearl to young master first, and young master should have instructions for the next step. Luo Luoyan transmitted her voice to Wen Renshi, and Luo Luoyan, author, forgot Mu Bing and wrote Luoyan instead, as she went her separate ways. The other 2 who heard it nodded slightly. If you want to join the Evil Slayer Alliance, first listen to the Dean's command and try to find the blood phoenix. I have something to do, so that I will leave first. Luo Luoyan said, turned into a rainbow, and went straight to the south's great demon mountain. Shortly afterward, Luo Luoyan stood high in the sky, looking at the valley, her eyes shining. Where is young master? Did he know that I am coming and wait for me on purpose? Young master is anxiously waiting for the pearl. Then I have to send the soul calming pearl to young master quickly. Soon, Luo Luoyan came. In front of Sun Hao. Presently, Sun Hao has just handed the scroll to Xuanhuan's hands. He saw Luo Luoyan when he turned around. I have seen young master. Luo Luoyan bowed and greeted. Hey, Miss Lu Yen. Sun Hao looked at her for a moment and asked, "Why are you here?" "Young master, I just came out of the blood phoenix nest." Luo Luyen replied. Blood phoenix nest. Sun Hao was startled slightly, his eyes shone, such a good strength. Although the blood phoenix nest was not dangerous, it was only the case for him. Because with Rumeng's protection, whoever attacked him will end up turning into ash. Miss Lu Yen can come out safely indicated that her strength was not weak. "Thank you for your praise. Young master, this is a pearl I found. I hope young master will accept it." After speaking, Luo Luyen held the soul calming pearl on top of both of her palms. Looking at the gray and white pearl in Luo Luyen's hands, Sun Hao's eyes flashed brightly. This bead was polished very finely, it was even more beautiful than jade. It also emits a faint brilliance under the sun. It would also emit a dazzling light at night. This was the legendary night pearl. It just so happens that he can use it for lighting at night. Such a big one was even given to him. His heart would ache if he didn't accept it. "Miss Lu Yen is so polite, give me something again." Sun Hao took the beads and smiled. When Xianxia's eyes saw this scene, her scalp went numb. Damn! She was a stupid person. Young master gave her a peerless, immortal work, but she didn't even think about giving him a gift in return. Even if young master is an immortal, he doesn't like his own things, but whether he took it or not was just a matter of manners. By looking at Luo Luoyan's appearance, she knew this very well and was highly regarded by young master. Thinking about it this way, Xianxia's consciousness swept towards her space ring and searched around. There are hundreds of top-grade spirit stones in the space ring, a dozen bottles of pills, and 2 middle-grade spiritual swords. There seemed to be no immortal objects. Young master must have looked down upon it. What should she do? I can only go back and discuss with my father. Xianxia muttered to herself, thinking secretly. On the other side, Luo Luyen took a long sigh of relief and relaxed. Young master laughed, then this test could be considered as passed. However, how should she ask about this blood phoenix matter? Young master, it was but a little gift. I will be relieved if you don't dislike me. Luo Luyen said. Why would I? Sun Hao handed Huang Rumeng the soul calming pearl. Rumeng, take out a few scrolls. Yes, young master. Huang Rumeng took out 5 scrolls and handed them to Sun Hao. Miss Lu Yen, since you like painting, then I will give these to you. Sun Hao said. Luo Luyen was dumbstruck when she heard this. What? 5 immortal objects, all for her. Could it be because of the extermination of the Heart Devourer Fa Lao? That's wrong. Killing the Heart Devourer Fa Lao was entirely thanks to young master and had nothing to do with her. Young master gave 5 immortal paintings to her, and there must be other profound meanings than what it seemed. It must be related to the blood phoenix. She had to go back and think about it, and it would be best to discuss it with everyone. Sister Lu Yen, the blood phoenix is dead, don't worry. Huang Rumeng seemed to see what Luo Luyen was thinking and transmitted a voice with her divine consciousness. Luo Luyen secretly breathed a sigh of relief when she heard this. It seems that young master has long since found that we can't deal with it, so he personally killed it. Thank you, young master. Luo Luyen bowed with her clasped fists and accepted the painting. Ding, blessing point plus 250 rang out. How come 5 paintings only give 250 points? Shouldn't it be 2,500 points? What's the matter? It's 10 times less. Sun Hao frowned faintly. Miss Lu Yen, it's hard to find a close friend. Please don't dislike it. Sun Hao said. What? Young master regards me as a friend. It seems like she could understand what the young master meant. However, she still couldn't guess young master's profound meaning. First, young master meant the soul calming pearl, the second was to deal with the blood phoenix, and the third was to deal with Fa Lao. It was hard to decipher these three things. So ashamed. Luo Luyen sighed faintly, showing a touch of embarrassment. Hey, what about Miss Yiling? Why didn't she stay with you? Sun Hao asked. Young master, Yiling was cultivating in the sect and didn't come out with me. Luo Luyen said. When she came out, come to my house to sit down and have a simple meal. Sun Hao said. Young master told us to go. Apparently, there are other instructions. Luo Luyen nodded, yes, young master, I will bring Yiling in a few days. Okay, then it's settled. Sun Hao said. Definitely. Luo Luyen cupped her fists, young master, then I shall leave first. Be careful. Luo Luyen turned into a long rainbow and left quickly. Xianxia waited for Luo Luyen to leave. She then stepped forward, crossed her 10 fingers, clasping tightly. Young master, if I may be so bold as to ask a favor, Xianxia said. Miss Xuanhuan, if you have anything, just say it. Sun Hao said. Young master, where do you live? I'll come and visit. Xianxuan's body trembled slightly. Her charming face was overflowing with a fine sweat. Her heart pounded fiercely. She regretted it just after she said this sentence. Damn it. That was so stupid. Daring to inquire about an immortal's residence, was she courting death? Young master, if it's not convenient for you, then forget it. Xianxia said. Sun Hao smiled, Miss Xuanhuan, how could it be? I live in the south of the Great Demon Mountain, and you can frequently come if you have time. Really? Xianxuan's face was full of disbelief. Could this be fake? As long as there were cultivators who come to stay in his place, have a meal, and drink tea, he could reap blessing points. So, why not? In addition, this Xianxuan's strength was not low, and just by giving her a painting scroll, he could get 50 blessing points. It wasn't much, but also not bad. This kind of person was the best to come often. Of course. Sun Hao nodded. Thank you, young master. Xianxuan clasped her fists in salute, young master, I've been out for too long this time, I have to go back first, and I will come and thank you next time. Okay. After Sun Hao nodded, Xianxuan turned into a long rainbow. Leaving quickly. After a while. Xianxuan looked behind her and shouted, Who, Beove, it's me, Mississippi. At this moment, the figure of a middle-aged man slowly condensed. Seeing this middle-aged man, Xianxuan showed a look of surprise. Uncle Ing, why are you here? Xianxuan asked. I was entrusted by the patriarch. I came here to protect the Mississippi, said the middle-aged man. Uncle Ing, what about father? Xianxuan said worriedly. There shouldn't be anything wrong, the middle-aged man said. We must go back as soon as possible. Yes. The two turned into rainbows and left hastily. End of the chapter. Here comes June, best time to become our patron is the beginning of the month. You could read for free here, but if you like what you read and want to donate to the website, then there are 3 ways to donate to this website. Patreon. By donating to our Patreon you will be charged monthly or annually, with a certain discount. By becoming our patron you will have access to more chapters before they become public according to the tier you have chosen. PayPal. You can use this option if you want just to donate to this site whenever you like with no strings attached. Saweria. This donation is for Indonesian who want to donate directly with no strings attached. Feel free to read here or donate through any 3 links above suitable for you. Any help and support are very much appreciated.